Ginetta G5 Tier 2. This is round 2 of the championship on the PlayStation 4 from Oschersleben B circuit, and the guys are just getting ready to go. This will be a sort of dummy formation lap. The guys will have to get into the right order. The grid is decided by the championship order from the first doubleheader race at Brands Hatch. So Washi, the championship leader, will be putting himself in pole position when the guys get going, followed by Rob 2K. So this is a double header, 20-minute sprint race, and then the positions at the end of that race will be reversed to form the grid for the 40-minute main feature race. 4 rounds in this championship. Brands Hatch Indy we've already had. Oschersleben B is this one. Then we've got Catalonia National and Circuit of the Americas National as well. So this is where there's sometimes a bit of chaos. My name's Ian, by the way, I didn't mention that. Thanks very much for Ghost Hunter filling in at the last minute. He's going to be directing the pictures, so I'm going to be talking over what he chooses to see. So they make their way around this 2.43 kilometre circuit, fairly modern one actually, in Germany, built in 1997. Hosts mainly national races now, but early on hosted a lot of things like Formula 3000 and GT races. Does still host the FIM World Endurance Motorcycle Championship, but other than that it's pretty much mainly German national races. As you can see, the weather is rainy, and the guys seem to be getting into position from what I can see fairly well. So the grid is Washi on pole, Rob 2K is second, AAB is third, Lucky Number is not racing, he would have been third. Then we've got Klangen in fourth, Tom J in fifth. Sixth place is Desperate to Play because SM Deadpool is not here. Then we have got who have we got there? Fred Ogega. Then Mr. Z should have been next, but he's not taking part. Then we've got Denzamo, who lost a win in the first race and he was taken out, I believe, I haven't seen the incident, by a back marker in race 1. And then bringing up the rear is AOR Gizmo, another chap who couldn't make it, unfortunately, is McQuiz. So the guys are getting ready. They've just got a couple more turns to negotiate. Coming down to turn 7, Bauer, and then they'll take the last curve, turn 8, the Zeppelin curve. So very slowly as they go round, and Washi is in charge now of this field. He'll determine when we get to the main acceleration zone when he's going to hit the throttle. And a 20 lap race doesn't sound like much, but hopefully these guys will be fairly cautious into the first turn in these tricky conditions. So Washi is getting ready. Rob 2K is going to pull alongside, and they floored it. I think they floored it. We're off. So the third race of the championship, Tier 3 GT5 Ginetta Championship, is go. Washi leads, and he should take a comfortable lead into the first corner, with Rob 2K following nicely in second. And they're all going to get round. The car runs wide there on the outside. Oh, a bit of contact there between Tom J and Klangen, I believe. But fairly clean so far. I don't think anyone's gone off completely. So Washi, who's a difficult man to come to terms with when he gets out front and gets into a lead, will be looking to build a lead already. And Tom J and Klangen are really going for it, I think. Down to the hairpin, we've got a couple of guys off. And oh, we've got a spinner there. And if Denzamo is there, sorry, it's very difficult. I'm not controlling the pictures to see who is who, so bear with us this first week until I get used to the colours of the drivers. Ayabe from Spain is sat there in 4th place, following Klangen in 3rd. So I think I misidentified Klangen earlier. He wasn't in the green car after all. So coming down to start lap 2, so it's a timed race. I'm not sure how many laps we're going to get in. And Washi leads from Rob 2K, and Klangen is in 3rd. Then Ayabe in 4th. Fred Ogega is 5th. Denzamo is 6th. and it's all pretty clean so far. Good battle here between Tom J and Desperate to Play. Ooh, and they just touch a little bit on the outside of turn 2, but Tom J keeps that position, so he's in 7th, Desperate to Play is 8th, AOR Gizmo bringing up the rear in 9th. The lead at the front, oh, there's been a change of lead at the front. Rob 2K now leads. Washi has gone off somewhere, he's down to 3rd. We're not watching him at the moment. We're watching Rob 2K who leads. Clangan's there 2nd, Washi is 3rd, so he's not had a major off, but it was enough to lose him 3 or 4 seconds, so he's down to 3rd. So he's going to be really keen to get back up into the leading position. So I was just expecting a peerless Washi running away with it, but that's not going to happen. We're going to have some good battles here as Washi comes down the inside out of turn 8, and he's already past Clangan. So Rob crosses the line at the end of lap 4, leading. Washi is ahead of Clangan, who tries to get back in his slipstream. AAB is keeping watching brief in 4th, and there's a little bit of a gap back to the rest of the field. So these 4, I would say, if there aren't any mistakes, are probably where the main podium finishes are going to come from in this race. Looking at Desperate to Play and Tom J again. Desperate to Play in the orange and white car. And at the back we've got AOR Gizmo, and Denzamo must have had a problem because he's down to 9th place. Back at the front, Rob 2K down towards the hairpin. So careful feeding the power in. These are very nippy little cars, quite stable to drive, but in these conditions, if you floor the throttle too much, you can easily spin it around. And you can see Washi, you can see his speed. I think Washi overall is the quickest man in these conditions, because he is catching Rob 2K already. And is he going to have a go into turn 8, which is where he tried to get inside Clangan? Rob runs wide, very politely. Not intentional, I'm sure, and Washi's going to go through, but it's going to be a drag race down to the first turn. We are on lap 5, and Washi's going to retake the lead. Is he? No, Rob's going to try and outbrake him again. These two are good pals, AOR terms, so I don't think there's going to be any problems there, and there's not, and Washi goes through. Meanwhile, Clangan is under attack from Ibe in 4th place, and Fred Giga, the Kenyan driver, nice to see some drivers from all over the world taking part. He's actually catching his teammate. So we get points down to 16th place. As you can see, there's only 9 drivers in this race, so anyone finishing at least 90% of the race will get points. 26 for first, 21 for second, 17 for third, so on. The championship is, after the first 2 rounds, is level between Washi and Rob on 47 points each. Washi is ahead courtesy of his win in the first race. He got 2nd in race 2 at Brands Hatch, and Rob, just looking at my screen, did the alternate basically. He was 2nd and then 1st, in which case that must be, not sure how Washi's top of the championship then, because they were exactly the same. Anyway, back to the racing, and Rob 2K has actually dropped back quite considerably from Washi. He's now 2.4 seconds behind, and Clangan looks as though he wants a pop at 2nd place here. First curve, which is called Hotel, really tight left-hander. Then through the long 2nd turn, and then they'll take a short straight up to the hairpin at Hassel Road at turn 3. So Washi's lead is stable at 2.5 seconds. Rob, I don't know whether he's got this under control or whether Clangan's really putting him under pressure. Meanwhile, Denzamo at the back has come up. He was last, so he's passed. And Desperate to Play's gone down, in fact. So Desperate to Play has lost a couple of spots. And what have we got? This race is going really quickly already, so we've got we're nearly halfway, so just under 11 minutes left. and you're watching Rob 2K in second place. Meanwhile, further back, there's a battle between Denzamo. Oh, there was. The camera didn't quite pick that up. Now we're looking at now we're looking at AOR Gizmo and Desperate to Play. And AOR Gizmo spins, and Desperate to Play hits him unintentionally. Racing incident. I'm sure that nothing that that Desperate to Play could do about that. Back towards the front. Situation still stable. 2.5 seconds. Washi leads. And the top 4, top 5, top 6 have pretty much been in these positions since Washi had that presumably slight off or semi-spin early on. But the guys in 7th, 8th, 9th are swapping around a little bit. Right, now we've got a battle on here. We've got Iobay and Klangen, and Iobay's past Klangen. So sorry we missed that, so he's up into a podium position. Iobay had 2 solid results at Brands Hatch, a 4th and a 6th place. And Fred Agega is trying to go around the outside of Klangen. Doesn't make it stick into Hasseröder. Oh! That car decides to have a bit of a kangaroo session there. So Klangen's lost that 3rd place, but he's at least held off Fred Agega, who tried to have a pop round the outside into turn 3. So this is the closest battle I think we've got at the moment for leading positions. Difficult to say who's really the quickest out of these guys. Interesting that Klangen was getting close to Rob 2K, but now he's dropped back somewhat. But now he's going to try and make the move on Iobay. Goes to the outside. I don't think that move is going to work unless Iobay outbreaks himself. Oh, they're going to try and go around together, but no, he doesn't. But Fred Agega might be able to take advantage. No, Klangen holds his line well, but he's going to be under pressure into the turn 3 hairpin. Now too far back to make a move. We're now well into the second half of the race. 8 minutes 30 seconds left to go. So I believe when the clock hits 0, they'll then have that 1 lap basically to complete after that. Washi's lead has actually come down at the front. It's now under 2 seconds. Well, it's fluctuated quite a lot. As you can see on the top left, it's around 2 seconds or just under. AOR Gizmo, who is last, is 39 seconds behind, so I don't think he's going to be lapped in this race unless he has a major off. We're watching Washi at the front. And the battle's not joined, but certainly Rob is having a better second part of this race than the first, because he's now looking like he's potentially slightly quicker than Washi. We'll have to see. Very dependent on each lap. In these conditions, you can really change your speed with just the smallest mistake. Back to the battle between Iobay, Klangen and Fred Agega. Those positions are unchanged, 3, 4 and 5. Iobay and Fred Agega are teammates. You can see there in the blue Ginettas. Number 58 there is Klangen. Finished 4th, Klangen did in GT3 Season 10. I can't remember which league that was in. It was the one I was in, I should know that. Tier 5 I think it was. Might be Tier 6. But anyway, so he's quite an experienced driver on Project Cars 2. And I'm quite impressed. I've not seen, there's probably a few spins that we've missed, but I've not seen a lot of people go off. Though these cars are obviously handling the wet conditions fairly well. And you can see some puddles starting to form there towards the last corner, turn 8. And one of the great features of Project Cars 2 is obviously the dynamic weather, and that the puddles can change and deepen and as the race goes on. So you can find one lap, you can go through a certain speed, the next lap it might aquaplane you off, but the conditions don't look bad enough for aquaplaning at the moment. We're watching Desperate to Play, who is back in 8th place, which as it stands will give him 9 points for the championship, so I think everyone's going to get some reward here today. back to the battle between 3, 4 and 5. And oh, that was Fred got quite close to the back of Clangan there, so I was distracted for a moment as my PlayStation said it was going to turn itself off, but hopefully I've averted that. As up the inside goes Clangan, back up the inside of Fred and Tom is in the green and black car is now joining this battle, so they're holding each other up, and it's going to give Tom, the British driver, a chance to maybe have a sniff of 4th or 5th as Fred runs really, really wide. And Denzarmo's not too far off either as we ride on board with Fred Agega into the last turn. You can see by the way that steering wheel is moving here on board, feeding in the power is probably the most trickiest thing to do in these conditions, and also picking your braking point. I'm not sure how much of these guys have done practice in the wet. I suspect most of them have done some wet practice. We knew ahead that the weather was going to be like this for the first race. And Fred thinks about having a go, but he's not quite close enough. Clangan keeps quite a tight line. Meanwhile up front, Washi has pulled out a big lead. He's now 6 seconds ahead of Rob. And this battle very much is joined. So we've got Clangan in the yellow car, Fred Agega in the blue, and Tom J.I. in 6th place in the green car. We've got 4 minutes left, and Denzarmo's a quick driver who could have won the first race, as off goes Tom, I believe. Tom has spun, the camera's not quite picking it up. Ghost does a good job to pick that up, and he's spun himself into the wall, so it's going to move Denzarmo up. What a shame, because he was just getting into the thick of that battle. I don't suspect he's got much, if any, damage, so hopefully he can finish the race and get himself some reasonable points. So as I said, at the front, Washi's lead is now extended to 5 seconds while we're watching that battle. Oh, as Tom nearly spins it again, back the battle for 4th. Clangan and Fred Agega across the start-finish line. Lap 12 this is. Down to turn 1, braking down to 2nd gear. Some drivers will shift it into first. You can see some puddles really developing there on the inside, but the drivers managed to keep clear of that. Clangan holding it in first, now up into 2nd gear. A little bit of lag there as the car seems to jump across. And I think Clangan's got this kind of under control. I think Fred Agega looks like he's potentially quicker. I think Clangan's quick enough, if he doesn't make a major mistake, that he should maybe be able to hold on to 4th place. Washi's lead, meanwhile, up front is now 7 seconds. There's a big gap between Rob and Ayabe, who's 18 seconds now behind Washi in 3rd place. Gizmo, followed by Tom, and Desperate to Play. But we've still got 2 minutes plus the last lap to go. We're watching Denzarmo, who's up into 6th place. Had problems, I think, in the early laps, otherwise I think he would have been a real feature towards the sharp end of this race. Oh, back the battle between Clangan and Fred Agega, and it's commentator's curse, because I think Clangan had it under control, but I don't think he has, because Fred Agega is going to come up the inside here. Surely he's going to make this move stick. He brakes slightly earlier, and a nice clean move. He makes it stick up into 4th place. Denzarmo's joining this battle now. So, oh, and Fred Agega spins. And oh dear, and Clangan has just bashed into him. Again, probably nothing he could do to avoid it, but Denzarmo is now up to 2 spaces without having to do anything, so I'm sure he'll be smiling in his cockpit. Well, that's unfortunate. Again, it's just that first turn and second turn, it looks like the puddles are starting to mount, and I think that could have contributed to that spin. So, Washi leads from Rob, Ayabe, Denzarmo, Clangan, Fred Agega, Desperate to Play, Tom J, and AOR crashed out completely. I don't think anyone's had to come in for a pit stop for repairs either. So, yeah, quite good driving standards so far today. Back at the front then, Washi, and his lead is fluctuating quite a lot. And I think he's just passed. He's just lapped actually AOR Gizmo. I believe that is Gizmo in the red car. And his lead is around 5 seconds. so I'm sure he's got this under control. Rob will be pretty pleased, I think, with second place. These two guys, along with Denzamo, certainly the speedy show in the first race, look as though they might be the class of the field. Obviously we are missing Mart C, whose AOR name is Lucky Number, who's third in the championship. Unfortunately he couldn't take part in this race, so again he'll be a feature hopefully in the third round on the Catalunya National Circuit in Barcelona. Meanwhile, Klangen and Fredegega are going at it again. This is where they had their little incident. Oh, we can see Fredegega really difficult to put the power down. Of course, these guys can run whatever setup they like, so some guys may have got a little bit more stable setup for this wet race. And Fredegega is having a half-hearted look. Klangen shuts the door, but not very strongly. Good respectful race between these two. As across the line goes Washi, and he's won already. So Washi wins. So I was a bit late picking that up, but we're going to follow this battle home. So Rob is come home in second. Ayabay will come home in third, I believe. Oh, and wide goes Klangen, and there's been a change already because Fredegaga's got past, and just with 2 corners to go, Klangen has lost that position again. He's down to 6th. Is he going to have a go up into the last corner? There's a slight tap. Fredegega runs wide, so does Klangen, and oh my goodness, is this going to allow Desperate to Play to get through? Fredegega holds it round the outside. Desperate to Play's past Klinger, so Fredegega finishes 5th. Desperate to Play 6th, and Paul Klangen, who was in the thick of it all race, finishes 7th. Oh, that was an enjoyable race. Congratulations to everyone who took part. Good clean racing there, didn't see anything untoward at all. So the guys will just be doing their cool down lap, and then we'll go get ready for race 2, which will be 40 minutes. As I said, reverse grid, so AOR Gizmo will be on pole from Tom and Klangen. So it will be really interesting to see whether Washi and Rob 2K particularly will be able to come through the field, and how far they'll be able to get up in that 40-minute race. So I've got to remember to take a photograph of the final positions so I can fill in my lovely spreadsheet, which while we're waiting for the race to be set up, I can fill in the finishing positions, and then it will tell me who's doing what in the championship. So just to recap, so Washi was first, Rob 2K second, in third place was Ayabay, fourth place Denzamo, in fifth place Fredegega, in sixth place Desperate to Play, seventh was Klangen, eighth place was Tom J, and ninth was AOR Gizmo, and everybody else got 0 points. So I'll just plug this into my computer, and then we'll be able to review the championship positions as we go into the second race. So right, that tells me that Washi leads the championship on 73 points from Rob 2K on 68 points. Then we've got Ayabay in third on 43, Klangen in fourth on 35, and Mart C is next up on 34 points. The only guy not to score that started the championship is McQuiz. Obviously he's not here in this race, and he didn't score in the first race. So 5-point lead for Washi, not a big lead, and the way the points are set up in this championship, it does encourage close racing. So Rob, if for example if Rob and Washi came through and finished first and second again, if Rob won and Washi was second, then they would be identically pointed. That's not a word, is it? Identically pointed at the top of the championship. So 40 minutes. I know on these double headers, I've done it myself, you just have a bit of a sigh of relief after the first race. Perhaps have a drink of water, get ready for the long haul of the second race. I must admit that went quite quickly. Thanks to Ghost Hunter for sorting out some really good direction there with the pictures. We managed to see pretty much most of the incidents, I think. Have to find out later from Washi what caused him to go off early on. Maybe just outbraked himself somewhere, but it didn't matter in the end because he came through and showed his abilities in wheel-to-wheel racing. So the guys will be setting up the new race. At the moment it's showing a 20-minute race, so I'm sure that will change shortly. And I'm going to shut up for a moment and get a drink, and I'll join you back here shortly. And we're just going to end this broadcast, but we'll be back again very soon.